Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Hao, and today we'll be going through the third lesson of our Python course, which is dictionaries, and we'll be doing a small banking app as an example application that you can already make with the current knowledge we have so far. Okay, so first of all, what are dictionaries? Let's say, right, let's say we have the following information which we want to store in Python. How do we do so? We do so using something called dictionaries. So a dictionary, a dictionary is basically a list of key value pairs, and then you can access the values using the keys. So what I mean by this is, let's say we open our REPL and we define a dictionary. So we just create it. Okay, so let's say we have this. Okay, so let's say we have a dictionary which we call, just like how with variables, right? We create a dictionary with a certain name, a variable name, and we set it to create a dictionary, we use curly brackets. So you know how in list we use square brackets, right? And you put the things inside with commas, separate by commas. But in dictionaries, we use the curly brackets. Then we type a bunch of key value pairs, and the key is a key colon value. So for example, our first key is Alice, then the corresponding value is 100. Then we use a comma, we press enter, and then the next line is another key value pair. So let's just say we have the following key value pair. Okay, so if I press run, then you see that currently nothing is output, but this dictionary has been created. If I go ahead and print bank, then you're going to see that just like how we see in a list, right? This is the dictionary that's created. So if I want to access, let's say Alice, the value corresponding to Alice key, then I'll use just like how in a list we use indexing, right? Instead of putting in number here, I'll put in the key that I'm interested in. So I'll put in Alice, and you see that I get 100. So then if I go ahead and try bot, then you can see I get 50. And if you try a key that doesn't exist, right? Let's say we say Evan, then you're going to see that there's going to be a key error in line 7, which means that basically Evan does not have a corresponding value. It's not defined in the dictionary. So after that, how do we, similar to the list, right? How do we add items to the dictionary, and how do we remove it? So we can do so by just declaring, we can of course add another entry in here, right, Evan, but we can also do so by writing bank, the new key that we're interested in, Evan, and let's say we set it to a certain value, let's say here 1000. Then when I press enter, I'm no longer going to get the key value, the key error, because in line 7, right, I define a new key value pair, and then line 8 I access it. And if I go ahead and print bank, then you're going to see that in fact there's at least bought all the way to Evan, one additional guy added. So this is how you add items to a dictionary. So yeah, dictionaries are basically kind of like lists, just that the index, right, you put in can be a string. So yeah, then how do you delete items? You can delete items using the del command, just like how, you know, when we delete an item of a list, we use del and then put the index. So similarly, you can delete Alice. Then when we print bank, you're going to see that Alice has disappeared. And we try to access Alice again, we're going to get a key error. So that's how you add and remove items from dictionary. How to iterate through a dictionary then? We know that for loop, you write for the item in the list. So likewise, you can actually write for key in bank. Then if I go ahead and print key now, you see that I have printed all the keys. Then so using this, I can of course use bank key. Then that will give me all the values. So that's one way to access to iterate through all the elements in the dictionary. Another way is um, to write bank.items, dictionary.items. So this dictionary is actually a kind of an object, and this dot items is calling a method of the object. But that's more under object-oriented programming, which is for another time. Then if we go and print I, then we're gonna see that there's a bunch of these round brackets things. So this is something new that we just encountered. This is known as a tuple. So if I a tuple is kind of like a list, just that the items cannot change. So if I go ahead and print, you can access the items in a tuple using indexing just like a list. So I can print I0, I'm gonna get all the names, right? All the keys. Or I can print I1, I'm gonna get all the values. If I try to print I2, I'm gonna get an index error because the tuple only has 2 elements. Now, if I try to reassign, right? If I try to reassign a particular value, let's say I0 equals to Tom, right? And I print I0, you're gonna see that, say, in line 8, right? What's the error? Line 8, tuple does not support item assignment. Basically, it means that the tuple, which is the tuple, which is this thing, this round, the thing with round brackets, right? It kind of acts like a list. You can access it just like a list, like an index, right? Using the indexing, but you cannot modify the items. So this is known as yeah, you cannot modify the items. So yeah, that's how you iterate through a dictionary, 2 different ways. And then after that, what if we want to sort the items by, well, we're going to sort the items by the key, then we can just use the sorted function. So because all these tuples, right, they are like that, right, pairs of values. If you go ahead and sort them, then um, then they're gonna sort by the first element, which is sorted alphabetically. So you go ahead and try print sorted. So I pass in blank.item, then I'm going to see something is wrong. Oh, blank.items with a round bracket because I'm calling method. Then I'm gonna see Alice, Bob, Charlie, Daniel. And yeah, so this sorts by the key. Then if I go ahead and sort out, if I want to sort by the value, right? Then for example, I want to go minus 22, 5, 50, 100, then I'm going to need to pass in something else into the sorted function, which is known as the comparator function. And for now, I'm going to write some stuff that might seem strange, might seem unfamiliar to you, but you can just take this as a given first, and we'll next time if you read more about lambda, right, about inline functions, it's going to make sense. But if I type this additional thing, key equals to this thing, right, inside the sorted function, must be inside the must be inside the sorted function, not the print one, then I'm going to see minus 22, 5, 50, 100. So this is how you sort by value, and this will come in handy later when we want to see who is the richest in our bank. Yeah. Okay. Then there's 2 ways. Then one question that might arise is, what if I wanted to sort by value in descending order? Then one way is to type a negative sign over here, right? Then if I sort it, you're gonna see 155 minus 22. But another way is you can type inside the sorted function again. You put another comma. You write reverse equal to false. No, reverse equal to true. Then you're gonna see that in fact it's sorted by reverse order. This will also come in handy when we see who is the richest in our bank. So yeah, so actually with that, right, we are ready to build a virtual bank. So let's go ahead and try it. So these are the features that we might be interested in. For example, our bank will need to have a way for us to interact with it, right? People need to be able to deposit and withdraw money. We want to see who's the richest by sorting by money, and we want to calculate the total value in our bank. So let's go ahead and start it. So yeah, so the first statement, let's start off with print welcome to the name of your bank. This is just for decorative purposes, right? Then, so it's prints welcome. Then from here, I want to create an interactive console. So what does it mean to have an interactive console? It means something like that. So something like that, they can type stuff in, and then when you press enter, you see particular outputs and stuff. So one way is to just have an infinite loop. So something like for I and range, something that happens many, many times, right? I'll show you something called a while loop later. But then from here, we can write our certain thing, our menu basically. So we want to basically type out entire menu. So for example, you can type 1 to deposit, you can type 2 to withdraw, you can type 3 to sort, all right, you can type 4 to calculate total value, and then you can type 5 to quit. And then yeah, so from here, you take in the user input. So you assign it to a variable and you say enter command. Then here we check if the user input. Let's just check if it's 5 first. If it's 5, then we break out the for loop. So this break statement will break out the for loop if the user input was 5. Then after we break out the for loop, the user is probably done with banking, right? So we say thank you for banking with ETH Bank. Give me a moment. Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, so then we say thank you to banking with TCH Bank. Okay, so if you go ahead and run this, then it's gonna say welcome to TCH Bank. Then it's gonna have these options. If I type anything, it's just going to keep on printing the menu out. Like if I type 5, it's gonna exit out of the for loop, right? And it's going to say thank you for banking with us. So the next slide shows that instead of having this for I range 999, right? Let's say somebody is have some enough time to actually do 999 commands, right? Then it's going to exit without the user wanting it to. So actually a better way is to type while true, because this is basically a loop that happens forever. So now instead of the for loop running this thing 999 times, it's gonna run the while loop is gonna make this run forever until we break out of it. So yeah, so this is called a while loop. Usually you put in a conditional over here. You put in a conditional over here, like for example, while some variable, while the, let's say some variable I is less than 100 or something like that. But in this case, we just want it to happen forever. So the conditional is just true, which is always true. So while the condition is true, the thing inside the while loop will always occur. So yeah. So you go ahead and run this, you can see the same thing happen. Whatever I type, right, it's going to keep on printing the menu until I type 5, then it's going to exit out of the while loop. So that's our interactive console, right? So we want to implement some functions. So so if the user is 5, then you have exit. But otherwise, if the user inputs, let's say 1, let's implement what it means to deposit money first. So first of all, in order to keep track of the bank account, right, we need to have a bank dictionary. That's like what we did just now. So then if so over here, if the user input 1, then we're gonna ask for the account first. So who input account, then the value, right, it's going to be a value that the person input. So converted to float amount. This line 13 takes in the user's the account's name, right, that the person wants to deposit into, and this takes in the value. So if we then go ahead and try this, right, we're gonna attempt this, we're gonna see something is gonna fail later. So what does it mean to deposit? It means to add value to the person's bank account. So we can do this, right? Or a shorter way is to write plus equals. So this is a shorthand. Plus equals is the shorthand for increment this variable by this value. Likewise, you can also do minus equals, divide equals, and percentage equals modulo. Yeah. So if you go ahead and type 1 and we try to deposit into, let's say, Alice, right? And the deposit, let's say $100, you're gonna see that there's a key error. And why is that so? That's because we're trying to assess currently the bank who isn't defined. We need to create a key value pair by using the equality sign. So when we try to do this, we're trying to create a key value pair, but then here we're trying to access it before it's being created. So that's why there's a key error. So to fix this, we need to check whether Alice is in the key in the first place, in the list of keys in the first place. So to do so, we can use the if the person name is in the bank, right? So if the person is in the bank, then we increment the person's bank balance. Otherwise, we create a new bank account, right? Like we create a new key value pair and we set it equal to value. So now this should run with no error. So let's just can run this. So if we deposit into Alice account 100, you see that there's no error. Then, okay, so right now we don't have any form of feedback, right? Right now we don't know how much Alice still has. So perhaps let's after that we try to print balance of the name is person's balance. So we try to run this. So let's deposit into Alice account $100, and we see the bank balance of Alice is 100. Then we go ahead and deposit again into Alice account, right? Another 100. Then we're gonna see the bank of that Alice is 200. So now we have a way of depositing money. Yeah, currently actually, with at the moment, right, you can actually deposit a negative value, which isn't really um, which isn't really ideal because deposit is you shouldn't, yeah, we should have that in the withdraw function. So perhaps you can say over here, um, perhaps one thing that I can implement, which I didn't write in the slide, is if value is uh, greater than 0, then I do this, right? Then I do all of these, right? Um, otherwise, I print cannot deposit negative value. So if I go ahead and run this, so right now, right, if I run this, then if I deposit a negative value, then this conditional is not going to hold true, right? So it's not going to run this code, and instead it's going to run this code, cannot deposit negative value. So I press run. It should have said cannot deposit. Yeah, it says cannot deposit negative value. Then it went on to have a key error over here. So perhaps I want to bring this up here. This then it makes sense. Yeah, so deposit into Alice net -1. He cannot deposit negative value. Okay, so that works. So yeah, I didn't mention this in the slides, but that's just something I thought of as I teach this class. Okay, so with that we can go ahead and implement the withdraw money function. So we want to withdraw, right? So else if the user input is 2, then first we need to get account that we are interested in withdrawing. So if input the account, then if the person is in the bank, right? Then if the person is in the bank, then we can try to withdraw. So print current. So we want to first tell the user how much balance is in this person's account. So the current balance of this person is his balance, bank who. Then after that, we can ask for the person the amount of the person wants to withdraw. And if the person's value is greater than the person trying to withdraw more than the person has in the bank, then print count doesn't have that none. Else we can successfully withdraw it. So bank who, right? The person's bank balance is decremented by value. Then we print new balance of who is bank who. Okay, otherwise if the person is not in the bank, then we print no such account. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. So let's say we want to withdraw from let's say we deposit into Alice account $100. Then after that, balance of Alice 100. So we withdraw, right? Withdraw from Alice again. Press enter. Amount to withdraw 50. 50. Then the new balance of Alice is 50. Over here, I forgot to add a colon equals colon space, right? So yeah. Then if I go ahead and try to withdraw from if I go ahead and restart the code and try to withdraw from Alice before her account is created, it's going to say no such account. Then it's going to give me the menu again. So that's the withdrawal function, right? So as you see, it's just a bunch of inputs, right, and a bunch of conditionals. If the conditionals are met, then we withdraw from the person's account. Otherwise, we print a bunch of statements like to tell the user what went wrong, right? For example, you tried to access an account that didn't have money, or so on. Yeah, so yeah. Okay, so that's that. So that's withdrawing of money. Let's go ahead and try sorting by money. So if we want to sort by money, right? First of all, before we talk about sorting by money, I didn't mention something this in the follow-up lesson, but you can actually iterate through a list by using for I in, then the list like that. Then you can put the list variable name also here. Then it'll print all it'll iterate the items in the list basically. So that's something we're going to use over here. So else if the user input is 3, right? 3 is the sort, right? 3 indicates in our menu is the sort function. Then we're going to sort the money by descending order. So so we're gonna have sorted bank dot items, right? And in reverse order. So this is how you do it this is how you sort by the value, right? Instead of the key. Then you can put in through over here for reverse. So then yeah, okay. This slide currently talks about ascending, so let's keep it at that. So then to iterate through that list, right? I write for I in this list, print I. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, and if I run this right now, I need to deposit a lot before I actually have a list. So let's go ahead and bring back the default accounts. So these are just some default values that we don't have, so that we won't have to manually key in using the deposit function. So Charlie is -22 and Daniel is 5. Okay, so if I go ahead and run this, then if I print 3, then you're gonna see that it prints Charlie, Daniel, Bob, Alice. Yeah, currently it's sorting it in ascending order, but let's say we want to see it in descending order, we can write reverse equals to true. Then we're gonna see it in descending order. So we print 3, you can see the Alice comes first, then it goes in descending order. So this way we can see who the richest person in our bank is, and yeah, basically, and then maybe give him like better customer service or something. Okay, so lastly, the last function that we can implement is calculating the total value. So if the user input is 4, then we want to sum up all the value in everyone's account, right? So for example, this case will be 100 plus 50 plus 5 minus 22. So how do we do that? We can create a variable to keep track of the total value at first, right? Then for each bank account, right, and to iterate through the bank account to use for I and bank.items, then the total equals to total plus the value in each person's account, which is I1. So remember that if we go ahead and print I before that, we're going to see that if you remember that we type 4, right? We're iterating through everyone like that. Then I1, right? The I index 1, right? It assesses the value part of the tuple. So I want to add them all up. So total, we add this contribution, right? This account contribution to the total value. So that's what's happening over here. Then after that, the total variable, after the for loop has executed, the variable total has the total amount. So I say total value in all accounts is total. So I go ahead and run this. Yeah, I go ahead and run this. I press 4. You see that the total value in all accounts is 1333, which is 1133, which is correct. So yeah, that's pretty much it actually. So this is if you want to access the link, I'll just drop this in the chat. This is the code link. But yeah, but this was an exercise for us to implement a banking system. And you can see that with the current knowledge we have, right, we can already kind of create the structure, the skeleton structure of a bank account. Of course, the real banks don't use such a simple program, right? yeah, the real banks, they use I think they use a language, the system called Swift. Yeah, but with the knowledge we have so far, conditionals, loops, and dictionaries, we can create interesting behavior already. And perhaps you can think of creating your own game as well. So for example, you're interested in creating a game where there's multiple players. Yeah, maybe they want to take turns doing something, right? You can create a multiplayer game so everyone sits in a circle around the computer and types in their input. So you can this way you can perhaps create some simple games like, I don't know, blackjack or something like that. Yeah, and in fact, I invite you guys to try it out. I've seen some people, I've seen some people creating interesting games, and it's really up to your creativity. And in the next lesson, right, we'll actually be learning how to store stuff to files. So with that, right, it's even more powerful because we'll be able to see how our banking app can be the banking information can be stored to a file, right? Let me find it. How it can be stored to a file. Then after that, yeah, so you can have a file like test.txt, a text file containing all the banking information, and be learning how to read from it. So so our information in the bank isn't lost when we exit the program. Because right now when we press quit, right, then all the information is gone. When we press run, it reinitializes to all the default values. But next lesson, we learn how to load and save to a file. So yeah, with that, I think that's the end of this lesson. Yeah, so if not, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Yeah, have a nice day. Bye bye.